Today is February 22nd, 2021. This is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. We'll go down our usual agenda of release statuses, starting with 119. The main thing remaining here is fixing the CSI proxy build process. I need to ping Jing on where this is at, but I think the last time the main issue is trying to figure out how to promote a bucket from staging to release. I don't think we actually have a process for that. So I think Jing needs to work with the test infra folks to figure out what to do there. Moving on to 120. I have a docs PR that I think is ready to go. I think it's just waiting on some review from someone. I guess Xing, can you take a final look at this again?
Oh yeah, sure.
It should be ready to go. And then thanks. And then I think in terms of repos, I think CSI test repo is still pending. I guess Patrick, do you have more changes you're waiting on?
I worked through all of the pending pull requests, except for two that are currently still open. One is from myself that needs to be approved by someone else. It's a small code fix in the mock driver, and the other is from you, Michelle.
From me.
A YAML file change around directories, and I had questions because I was not seeing the one, I think it's the target path directory that is not made available inside the driver. I tried that today and it works, which kind of surprises me because I could not quite figure out what the directory is that the driver actually works with. So that seemed a bit odd, but it works. I don't have a problem merging that, but it seemed a bit odd.
I think the main thing is because the mock driver doesn't actually attempt to create directories and stuff.
Well, it does.
So
it does. We do have code for that now.
At least for node publish, I think it does, but for node stage, it doesn't. So that might explain the discrepancy there, possibly.
Well, I tried it today, and node publish is called with staging target path Kubernetes IO/CSI/PV. And I think that is getting checked by the code, or I messed something up when looking at the code. So it from the code it looked like it should fail, but it doesn't. So yeah, I guess we can just merge it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I'll take another look at this. I haven't been paying attention to this, but I'll take another look today and I'll see if there's anything we need to do here.
I know we used to have the issue where node publish was creating the directory inside Kubernetes, but not in the CSI driver. Then we updated the CSI mock volume or the CSI mock driver to create if it wasn't detected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Patrick's question is there's one more directory that theoretically we should be passing into the mock driver, but we're not. So I think we're just trying to understand why the mock driver is working without it.
Understood. Apologies.
Yeah, and we have the usual issue that the YAML files reference the old release, the latest stable version of the mock driver. And now when we put out a new release, we kind of have our example that doesn't actually use the new release unless we also bump the version. So if you are going to update that again, perhaps we can just assume that we will do a release soon and bump the version number like we do for the host path driver.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm wondering if there's some more dynamic way we can like do things like if we can somehow like get the latest git tag and just substitute it whenever we launch the driver.
That would certainly be doable in a deploy script. If with a plain YAML file, I don't see a way to inject that kind of logic.
Yeah, I just don't like having to update it every time.
Yeah, I know.
But
Let's merge the drivers, and then we only need to do it in one repo.
yeah. Okay. I'll take another look at that and try to clean that up
Yeah, and
today.
if you can just LGTM also my pending PR, then we really are down to almost 0 PRs in CSI test, and I can
Cool.
do a release tomorrow then.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Moving on to 121. Let's see. There's two changes out related to dealing with a race between node unstage and volume delete. One change is in the external provisioner, and another change is in kubelet. I think both of them are under active review. I guess, Jawei, you've been reviewing the external provisioner one, is that right?
Yeah. I think I had some initial reviews, and Saket has made some new changes. I need to take another look, but I think mostly it looks good.
What
I
is
think
the approach
Jing.
being used?
Oh yeah, so basically, I think when you try to delete the volume, it will try to check if the volume is in use. So we will use leverage there is a field in the node object called volume in use, and basically we will try to check if there's any volume are still in use, marked as in use in the node. If so, we will not delete the volume
But how do
onto.
you know which node to look at? Because it could be in use on any of the nodes. You have to scan all the nodes in the cluster for that volume.
I think it's so basically this one it's specific for non-attachable volumes, I remember. And there are several different conditions. Well, I need to check it again. I think yeah, it's some of the process there might take like a little more resource, like to iterate the objects, etc. I need to take
Yeah,
another
I,
look.
my question would just be like, is there a scaling problem? Because you know, if you don't know what node it's on, you have to look at all of them. That could be a lot of searching every time you do a delete. And then second of all, like, can you get stuck in situations where, I mean, I know that the volume in use field of the node is one of the key problems in the sort of the whole force detached node shutdown conundrum that we've been sort of dealing with separately. And what can happen is if a node goes out of quorum, it gets stuck in use. And if we add this check here, now we could inhibit the deletion of the volume until the node comes back out of limbo. And
Which is okay, right?
well,
It just means the
maybe,
volume will get deleted later.
yeah, I guess I just mean like we should consider if that's going to be a regression in functionality, because yeah, today, like if it's not being used anywhere, and except for on a node that was gone and you try to delete it, it just goes away, I assume. Now it'll wait until the node comes back, which could affect people.
But
And also,
I think the other challenge is that the race as it stands today actually could cause what was the issue? It could cause it caused some issue in the teardown flow to fail
yeah.
because
Oh yeah, no,
the
I'm very aware of the bad case here where the volume gets deleted while it's still attached to a node and a workload is running on it. And then when the workload tries to detach, you get all kinds of fun errors. Like in iSCSI, what particularly happens is that the kernel gets these weird notifications from the target saying that, you know, the disk you're talking to has been yanked. And where it gets really nightmarish is if if somebody else creates another volume immediately after you delete that volume, and then the node confuses that new volume for the old volume because it got the same identifier, which can happen with iSCSI, all kinds of bad things happen. And I've seen it in real life. So I'm glad we're getting rid of the arrays. I just, I would be concerned about, any new bad behaviors we're introducing, like scaling problems or volumes being stuck forever problems.
Yep. I think we'll need to definitely consider all of that.
Yeah, I think the scaling problem might exist. I need to double check with this PR. And also this PR, it actually introduced a new flag to the external provisioner. So like this function becomes like an opt-in feature.
The original PR by Scikit also had the same problem, if I remember that, the scaling problem and the volumes becoming undeletable, basically. So
Well, I think so the original PR, the change was being done in the PVC protection controller. And I think the problem with that is that prevents the PVC from being deleted. And so I think one of the decisions was to move it into the external provisioner so that we still allow the PVC to be deleted, but the PV itself will still remain around until the node comes back or the node gets deleted.
Oh, that's not so bad, because now somebody could create a new PVC with the same name.
Yeah.
It'll bind to a new PV, and the old PV won't hurt anybody.
Correct. The old PV will just be hanging around for a little longer until the node comes back or gets deleted. So that, I think that was the main reason why we moved it from PVC protection controller to the external provisioner.
That's a definite improvement.
yeah, agree. I think I'm meaning to take a look at it. I'll try and find some time. It's definitely interesting to me.
Cool. Sounds good. Yes, please take a look. Yeah, that's these two PRs. I guess there's also a corresponding change on the kubelet side.
Yeah.
I think that one is so that the pod object doesn't get deleted. Is that right?
I think it's just adding another condition for the to add the volume in the volume in use field. So basically, it's adding another condition so that the volume will be added to the new field, to the volume in use field. It's quite, yeah, you can take a look. It's actually just one line or like 2 line. Quite simple.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we can take a look. Cool, thanks. I think next up is the performance test. I think, thanks Patrick for giving your inputs on that. I think, Xing, you said Ronak is gonna take another look at this. Is that right?
Yeah, he said he will be doing some scoping on that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, next we have CSI Migration.
Yeah, so for CSI migration, the metrics for migration have been done, I think. We had a couple of PRs merged last week, and that one has been fixed. So there is a new issue that been raised in the external provisioner. So basically, we forgot to translate the entry storage class to CSI in the delete call, and this person have already had a PR to fix it, and I think we should merge that.
Okay.
I think other than this,
Oh, one thing to consider on this, the typically volume deletion shouldn't depend on the storage class.
yeah.
I think that's one reason why I think the call is not there.
Huh.
So I think we need to look into how the RBD entry plugin works on delete today. Is the RBD entry plugin looking at the storage class?
Okay. So I think that basically there are some parameters in the storage class that needs to be transferred, translate into the CSI format or something.
Yeah.
So if
I
the
think-
storage class has some special parameters, and that could,
Yeah. Usually, like everything that we need is supposed to be on the PV object, so that we don't need the storage class anymore after provisioning. So I would double check the RBD entry code, what it's doing on delete, and see if it is looking at the storage class, because ideally it shouldn't be. But yeah, let's double check.
Yeah, but in the delete CSI call, there is one file that you need to pop in the storage class parameters, right? So if you should pop in the CSI version instead of the entry version. That's my understanding.
Yeah, let's double check on that, because by design, like you're not supposed to reference the storage class on delete.
Yeah.
So let's just make sure that this
we
is
can
really
double check.
necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
And
All right.
other than this, yeah, I think the matrix one is done, and there are no other stuff for the core migration.
Awesome. Did we need to update all the sidecars with the new lib?
With the new, you mean the CSI lab util or
The
CSI translation?
translation.
Oh yeah, so the translation lab, I think only two we need to update, which is provisioner and the resizer, and that too has been I have already updated those.
Okay.
We
This is
just need
for
to make a new.
this is for the topology changes.
Yes, the topology
Is that right?
change. Yeah.
Do we need to also update it again after the other clouds make changes?
Well, yeah, that's true. If they if they want to fix that regression, fix that rollback topology issue, they will have to release that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you for the update. Next we have snapshots.
I wondered, sorry, I wonder if we need
Oh
some
yeah.
E2E test to ensure that a driver PV could be deleted if the storage class is not present, because this keeps coming back, and it's very easy to break that encapsulation, like, you know, like the
Yeah.
storage policy or something like that. It put it in PV and then we refer it. When
Yeah. At least for like CSI, I think we, at least for CSI, I think we avoided that. But if the entry implementation actually did it, I don't know if we can prevent that, because we'll have to support it for migration. So yeah, we'll have to take a deeper look into that.
But having a test that just fails if that is the case might be valuable.
Oh yeah, like an E2E test that will delete the storage class after
Yeah, delete the-
provisioning and then try to delete the PVC.
Yeah, that's what he was suggesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe, Hamant, can you open an issue for that and we can
Yeah.
track it. I guess the thing is we can write the test, and if it causes the entry plugin to fail, then what do we do?
And not just entry, but
yes.
even this, I think the CSI drivers also could fail actually. Like, yeah.
Well, it would catch a regression, like if someone changed the provisioner sidecar to start looking at the storage class when it shouldn't. Fun.
Mhm.
You would find out about it real fast.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll file an issue.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Next is snapshots.
Yeah, so I see that you have some comments for the matrix test. Yeah, I think Grant should take a look at that. And also the use patch instead of update thing that I have asked Grant to take a look as well. Because Kartik doesn't have time to work on that in this release.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool.
Where
Thank you.
are we switching an update to a patch?
Oh, just all over every place.
Oh, okay.
Just
Yeah.
to avoid the the conflict, whatever we're getting, the update failure, right? We're getting a lot actually. So
Yeah, it's too bad that Kubernetes doesn't have a way to like get the best of both patch and update at the same time. That was sort of poorly designed.
No, you can get by putting the version in your patch. Then you get basically best of both worlds, kind of.
Wait, how do you do that? Where do you put the?
You put in the patch request that you make. You can put the version that you have, so that you're not accidentally updating, like patching an old object.
I want to see an example of how that might work, because
it's there in external resize controller at least. There could be other components that do that.
The entry one?
No, the external resize.
Oh, external resizer. Oh, okay.
I guess so. That doesn't that doesn't avoid the like the error messages you get that the resource is conflicting.
I mean,
right?
So problem with update is the conflict, and second is like you might override fields that you're not aware of. Like for example, there was a field added in API server, like like I don't know, let's call it param, and that param you don't know. Your client is not updated, so you don't know what that is. So you're not setting it. Now you put update and you're accidentally wiping that field. You don't want to do that. So using patch ensures that you're not accidentally writing that field, and obviously the conflict also. So yeah.
The problem with patch is a different problem. It's that if that other update changed a field that makes your patch invalid and you don't include a resource version, now you clobber that other change.
Yeah, so you
I guess you can include you can include the field that you're dependent on, right? In your patch.
It depends what I mean. There's strategic merge patches, and there's JSON patches, and there's YAML patch. I mean, there's a bunch of different patch formats, and they all have totally different semantics, and it's kind of a horrifying design decision. I wonder if the API SIG has like a recommended patch format. Like, don't use them. Don't use all the other ones. Just use this one recommended one.
It's a good question for API machinery.
Because yeah, I think they kept adding the new ones because they found problems with the old ones, and I don't know. I always use JSON patches, but maybe that's a bad idea. It worked for me.
I would guess. I mean, I would think API machinery should have some documentation about that, when to use what. If not, we can check with them.
My recollection from reading the docs is they tell you how each one works, but they don't tell you like one is better than the others. They just basically explain the differences and then leave it up to you to decide what meets your use case. The thing I like about JSON patches, you can explicitly have test things, and you can say, test that this field has this value, and if not, the whole patch fails. And that's a really powerful mechanism to avoid accidentally clobbering another racing patch. Because the nightmare is two different patches racing against each other.
Yeah. All right. And is anything else with snapshots?
That's it. I haven't got a chance to address Yang's comments yet on this particular one.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, next up we have ephemeral volumes.
I think I worked through all of the open tasks for beta. I need to look at the test grid. I think I don't remember exactly where it was referenced in the cap, but there are tests for generic ephemeral volumes which currently run as part of the alpha jobs. So I think I just need to double check that and then update the cap so that it's also documented there. All the other all the other changes are currently pending in pull requests. I
All right.
don't see a URL for the unit test, but there is also a PR for that. I can update that one thing. So that part should be pretty well covered. The final step, of course, will be to have a PR that actually moves the flag to beta. But I guess I'll do that once we are done with a review of the other things.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Next is volume populators.
So not much change from last week, except that we're expecting Tim Hawken to join our meeting tomorrow and finally work through his remaining API issues. Once we get all that squared away, I mean, the cup is already merged. He just wanted to do some remaining API questions. So once we get those squared away, we'll wrap up the implementation.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Next up is FS Group.
Sorry. Yeah. So I pinged James and Saad on Friday. I pinged him today morning. So basically, like right now, James suggested a wording that kind of addresses it. Let me where did it go? So basically, like he suggested a wording that calls out new files permission in the spec. I thought it was okay initially, but the longer I thought on Friday, the more weird it felt actually. And I think that like what James suggested was just to pull this thing. Yeah, he suggested that then the SP must ensure that the volume mount group parameter passed as group, blah blah blah. Additionally, new file and or directory entries written on the underlying file system should be permission labeled in such a manner, unless otherwise modified by a workload, that they are both readable and writable by said mount group identifier. So I do not like calling out new files. It almost is pushing the SP to say, oh, do set GID or something like that. I propose some alternative wording to that um, in this thing. I don't know. So that is that. If I know we talked about and James said he has Tuesday all free. I was trying to hoping to get it resolved on GitHub, but if it doesn't today, then like by in couple of hours probably I'll schedule a call. And I'm starting like I was thinking that I'll start my work regardless of this PR being merged. Although I'm blocked on this still, but that's the best I could do, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like right now we're mostly kind of stuck on wording right now,
Yeah,
mostly.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think you can go ahead and start and we can fix the wording as needed.
Cool.
All
I'll
right,
start the
thank you. Cool. And then any updates on the expansion front?
We have some PRs coming from Sung from Microsoft, and he asked me to review a PR about the PVC deletion. He pinged me on Wednesday. I'm planning to review it today, and he will open it in Kubernetes this thing. So that's all for new update from since last actually.
Cool, thank you. Next is volume health.
Yeah, so Ryan has submitted PR, basically moving that agent logic to Kubernetes. I think there are some CR issues he need to deal with, but I think it's a good start. Yeah.
All right, cool, thank you. And then we have storage capacity.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the settling the question around the spec change that is pending, and I think we have a wording that Ben and I agree on. We just need someone to basically do the final approval for the spec change. and then do a spec release, and then that can be used in Kubernetes to extend the CSI storage object interface or API. I have been discussing the cluster autoscaler integration, and I've been looking at the source code of how that autoscaler actually works. I think my idea will work, but it was pointed out that there are quite a bit more problems with the volume scheduler when used in the autoscaler. So at that point I stopped, because it sounded like this is a completely separate project that needs to identify, say, a handful of specific CSI drivers or specific storage systems where cluster autoscaler doesn't integrate well, and then figure out what can be done about that. But I think storage capacity is better. Storage capacity itself will not cause any additional problems for that. It will have some solution once we have something that actually works, or that once someone starts working on this.
So I think the concern, I think, was during the API review last time, where I think the cluster autoscaler folks were concerned about the fact that the way that the capacity is modeled and processed by the scheduler doesn't work for the way that cluster autoscaler models capacity, right?
Yeah,
because
that's true. That is another concern about this whole approach in general. But for the CAP, we explicitly said that we don't want to model storage. And now the cluster autoscaler say that we have to model storage. We have to have some model, otherwise it will not work for autoscaler. I guess there is no way around that. If you want to use autoscaler, you have to add something to the autoscaler that is specific to certain storage systems. This can't be solved as part of this generic CAP.
I guess the thing is that I think the main problem is that autoscaler works by running the scheduler predicates, right? So even if we said, okay, autoscaler needs to like inject objects specific to a CSI driver, I think the problem remains that the predicate interprets it in a way that is not consistent with how cluster autoscaler works.
So it will work if you have one pending pod that needs a new node, and the predicate will work and will determine that if we create one node, that this pod will run. So if the scale up will happen, it just might incorrectly assume that if you have 10 pods that all need storage, that they all can run on the same node. So the scale up will not happen as quickly as it otherwise would, but you still get some scale up happening. And iteratively, the cluster should scale up. When we do the first scale up, add one node, we see that against what cluster autoscaler predicted, it still won't be able to run all pods. We still need to iterate a few more times through the autoscaler, and eventually we will have all these pods running. That part works, but I agree that this is not
the scheduling won't fail, right?
No,
because
it won't
scheduling
fail.
will succeed.
Yeah,
and
that's what. Yeah.
And then we run into the issue where you have 9 pods that got scheduled, but they can't actually succeed.
Yeah, only one of them can. For example, in worst case, you might have only one of them can run, but that's the one that then gets to run on the new node, and then we have 8 remaining, and we continue.
But I think the main issue is that the 8 remaining, they got scheduled because at the time, because if they all get scheduled in parallel, they all say, oh, all the capacity succeeds, right? And so they'll get scheduled, and now 8, but then when it actually comes to provisioning, 8 of them will fail, they'll be stuck.
That is a problem independent of the cluster autoscaler. The scheduler handles that. We don't schedule pods when they have unbound volumes. Nothing changes with that. So we go through the usual ideally we go through the usual wait for first consumer thing, and we try to create volumes. Some of the volume creations will work, and those pods using those volumes can start up, and the rest can't. So that is
Oh,
covered.
I think I'm confusing this with the other scenario where a single pod might have multiple PVCs.
Yes,
And
multiple PVCs.
one PVC could provision successfully and the others won't.
Yes. That is an open issue, and it is an issue independent of storage capacity tracking. There was one other PR or one other CAP in a tentative state where I was proposing some scheme of handling this case, but it is a separate problem.
Okay, but I guess basically, so the conclusion is that it will work a little slowly for pods that use only one volume, but if you have pods that want to use multiple volumes, then this feature just is not compatible with that.
Well, it is cluster autoscaler will also scale up for pods that have multiple volumes that are unbound. It just might not lead to a situation where the pod, we may end up with a situation where the pod simply can't run on the node that was scaled up because it has additional complex requirements that can't be satisfied by a single node. Or actually the capacity check will work if you have two unbound volumes. The capacity check will tell you that you need a node that has enough capacity for both of these volumes.
But we don't sum up, right? We don't sum up the PVCs.
That is true. I was thinking of two different drivers. If it's two different drivers or two different storage classes, yeah. If it is exactly the same storage class, then you're right. We don't correctly predict the overall capacity need of that one pod. So yeah, that is a problem. The overall, the general issue remains that there are scenarios where you need to model something about the storage system, and this whole cap is based on the idea that you don't. So I think it's good enough for some cases, but it will clearly fail also in others. But I think this is called out in the cap as one of the limitations, and yeah, I still think it's useful to do it.
I agree. I think we just have to be clear about what's not going to work and clearly document that. I think it would be good to think about how we can address those use cases because I don't think it's uncommon.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, I'm not sure if you are composing containers, I can see how you might end up with independent volumes for exactly the same storage class. Otherwise, if you write it from scratch, why have two volumes if you can have just one that is larger? But yeah, I guess it can happen. Anyway, exactly. I think we are done with the investigation. It doesn't have a perfect solution, but I think it shouldn't block beta. Because I'm convinced that if we really start, if we were serious about supporting cluster autoscaler with storage, this feature will not make it worse.
Okay. Yeah, let's just write up the findings that you have, and then we can review that.
I can add something to the cap, basically explaining the idea. Whether it works remains on someone actually running an experiment in a real cluster. And I don't know how to do that because I don't have a cluster. I don't have a cluster setup where cluster autoscaler itself actually works. That was part of my question of to the SIG scalability or to the autoscaler on the autoscaler cluster channel, whether there is a way to run an experiment. And I got no response on that. That's when I settled on looking at the source code and doing this RFC PR basically with unit testing, which is my poor man's substitute for showing what would be done in a real cluster.
Okay. Let me try to help you with that. And I'll try to find some resources to see if we can get access to a cluster that has auto scaling enabled on it.
And I think, well, there is one thing that needs to be done in the autoscaler, and that was a question that I had about these template nodes that it creates, because we need to distinguish those from the actual nodes that get created. And I think the cluster autoscaler itself has quite a few limitations here when it comes to real nodes. Like, for example, I learned that in some cases it just clones an existing node, copies all of the labels, and that's just plain wrong for, say, local storage, where the topology key and the value will be different for every single node. You can't just clone an existing one.
I mean, I don't think it just blindly clones things, right? It does change the host name labels and stuff.
I asked and I was told it just copies labels. And how should it know that some abstract, some opaque label set through the CSI driver is special and needs to be modified? It just can't know that.
Yeah, so definitely there has to be enhancements made to the cluster autoscaler to support
exactly.
CSI.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. This is doable, but it is a separate effort basically, and some changes will be needed. But I think
I think the main thing is I agree it's a separate effort and changes will need to be made. I think the main concern is the API that we're introducing going to be able to support that if we do add this feature?
Yeah, and I think the answer is it will, and that the whole idea of having manually created CSI storage capacity objects, that will, in my opinion, solve that, because then an admin can say, here's a CSI storage capacity object that describes the node that hasn't been created yet, but if you simulate that node, it will have this capacity, and then the unmodified scheduler code will see the information that it needs about the new node, and can make at least some rudimentary decisions, like, yeah, this pod here with an unbound volume can run on that node. So that should work.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Any other topics to discuss? I think we are well over time.
Yeah. No, I'll get back to the other open issues next. So there will be some new PRs and that will get addressed too.
All right. Cool. Any other topics?
Yeah, these PRs that I added, I think they are getting reviewed. External provisioner that has been merged, I think. So I think we're almost ready for an external provisioner update. You are planning to do that from the master branch, right?
Sorry, what about it?
The next upcoming update of the external provisioner, that will be cut from master, right?
You mean, are we going to do a release of external provisioner, or?
I think there is this one issue about cutting a new release, because there have been various bug fixes that are needed.
We usually after the 1.21 release, I thought. Is there a need to start it early?
Well, the latest stable version has bugs.
Then we can backport, right? If it's bug fix, can be backported. If it's really bug, we shouldn't be.
So, but I'm talking about external provisioner issue 563.
Uh-huh.
I think Andy request if we can make a patch release for this. I am not actually
For-
sure.
So that's backport to your older. Yeah, patch, not a brand new minor release, but like a patch release, right?
Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
like a bug fix that we need, then we should backport it to an older branch, because the current release on master is not going to be released until 1.21.
Yeah, I'm not sure which CSI migration issue Andy was referring. He says it has one critical CSI migration fix. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's follow up on this, but like if there's a bug fix, then we should backport it to a release branch and
Yeah.
not wait for the current release on master, which won't be until March.
Yeah, I think there have been at least some candidates identified in this one issue.
Okay. Sounds good. Anything else? All right, then we'll end for today. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.